What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Wednesday, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at The Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at The Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff, follow and listen along.
This episode is brought to you by All County Exteriors. All County Exteriors is a third-generation, premier exterior home remodeling company celebrating over 40 years in business. In a remodeling world where the average remodeling company only survives in business for only 5 years, All County Exteriors has stood the test of time, providing their customers with top-quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors. They service homeowners and builders with anything from small repairs to large additions. All County Exteriors is not just limited to construction. They have a deep passion for giving back to their community and are charitable supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Cancer Society, Roofs for Troops, and Parents of Autistic Children. If you have planned to do any exterior remodeling, call the experts at All County Exteriors for a free, no-obligation estimate for your project. Just call 732-370-2780 or email them at info@allcountyonline.com. That's 732-370-2780 for All County Exteriors for all your remodeling needs. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Porro, and this is Ryan Kulat.
What's going on, Drop Pod people? How we doing? Mike and I got another big week this week. It's November the 15th coming at you. We got some golf courses to talk about today. Mike and I have been fortunate enough. Weather's been nice here in November, so we got a couple golf courses we're going to chat about. And then on the back end, we got Nick Bova is today's guest. Nick is the 2023 New Jersey PGA Player of the Year. He won that over Brent Palladino by winning the last tournament of the year for them, which they call the fall finale. If you remember, we had Nick on before, and then Mike and I both picked Nick to win the New Jersey Open. He was leading going into the final day, but he ended up finishing second when Brent shot a final round 65. If you remember, we discussed that with Brent in his episode, or in his interview when we had him on episode 44. So we have a nice little post-mortem with Nick about that day and how it affected the rest of his season, really. And just had a great conversation. We got into that. We started talking about some lessons, some drills. It was a really, how he's getting ready for next season already. It was really an awesome interview. He's such a great dude, just down to earth, and just like we had him on Zoom, and he's dogs jumping on his lap, and he's playing with dogs, just a regular guy. It was really awesome to have him on. So make sure you stick around for that and enjoy our interview with Nick.
Now, real quick, before we get going here, for the audience members, today is November 15th. Yesterday was the big fella's birthday. So I think I have to bring up, the big fella just turned. Say the number, buddy. Be loud. Be proud. Say it. Let's hear it.
I just turned 38.
38 for the big fella. So listen, it's a little happy belated birthday. So make sure you reach out to the guy on Instagram, on text messages, however you have it, because it was the big fella's birthday yesterday, and I'd be remiss if I did not bring that up. So happy belated birthday.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate it.
Anything exciting going on this weekend? I know it's only Wednesday, but we got anything big plans over the weekend? Are we doing anything? Are we exploring the scene that's out there?
Have you seen the movie The Hangover?
I have.
I know you're not a movie guy. Okay, well
I have. I've seen that one.
That movie was produced as a prediction for what's going to happen this weekend.
4 of us wolves running around the desert together in Las Vegas, looking for strippers and cocaine.
So if the podcast ends, everybody knows why.
Yeah, nothing, no big plans yet. I had dinner with my mom last weekend. Just a nice chill weekend, but we'll see. We'll see what this weekend has planned for me. But thank you. That was nice of you. I appreciate that.
The deep down, I have a heart. Deep down.
So let's talk, Mike. I want to start here. You have been talking about this course the entire time we've been doing this podcast, and I'm not talking about Manasquan River. I'm talking about Ballamor Golf Club. And you've been saying how I got to get down there, and it's an hour plus ride for me. I mean, even speeding, which I do have a little bit of a lead foot, it still takes me an hour 15 to get down there, an hour 20. So I made the trip. I went down, I played Ballamor. I met our guy, Eric. You were right. He's got great flow. The hair coming out of the hat, it really was.
The hair's legit.
It was really not, it was cool to kind of meet him and pulled up and he was just super friendly, super great. You talk about like customer service or whatever you want to say. It was just like, he knew I was coming and he was ready for me. And it was just like, it was nice to put a name to a face and nice to, again, he was just super generous with everything. So I got down there. My first impression was, I'm going to ask you a question. When was the club built? Do you know when the course was built? Do you know anything about it? Because that entrance,
I know no history of the place. No history of that. I know nothing.
So I think I'm going to do some diving there because it was really cool. Like that entranceway looked very like country clubby or like wedding venue-y, something like that. Like that, the long driveway, the big sign out front with like a gated entrance. I didn't think I was going to a public track, which was really interesting. And then, check in, say hi to Eric. He's there. Get my cart, hit the range for a second, putt some balls, stretch a little bit. On the putting green, did you notice those like statues that they have there?
Yep.
I think it's just such a neat touch.
Great touch.
Just such a cool. Again, you talked about like it's not the same, but like that no mulligans at Pine Valley. Just like a cool little thing that's specific to their course. I don't know why they're there, but it was just kind of a neat thing. Yeah, they got these like golfing gargoyles that are kind of around the putting green, which is just a really, really neat touch. And then you would have absolutely loved my first shot. Hit my first shot. I played. I want to say it. I'll say it now. I wasn't with you, and I know you like playing from the back tees, which is where I played from. We played all the way from the back.
That's a test back there. That's a test back there. I mean, that is from the back tees. I want to say it's over 7,000 yards.
It is.
It is. And when that wind blows a little bit, it easily could go well north of 7,000 yards.
It was.
And that's impressive because when I saw your Instagram story about the over under 88, I think I was the first vote on my account, and I clicked over in a matter of seconds by the time I saw that thing come up because I said I would be stunned if you go over 88 because you've been such a mental case lately. I thought that was going to play more into it than what tee boxes you played.
Yeah, the swing, as I told you, I feel like I need a break. My swing's kind of in shambles, and it's the end of the year, so maybe that's it. But that's regardless of the point. But yeah, it was played it all the way back. So I thought of you right on the first hole. I have a fade, and that first hole has out of bounds tight right, and your favorite rule could have come into play. It's late fall. There's a ton of leaves on the ground. So
here we go.
Naturally,
here we go.
I fade it. It goes over this bunker that's out there and kind of lands right against the cart path there. I did end up finding it. I didn't have to implement the leaf rule. But as I'm driving up, I go, there's no way I'm finding this ball. I can't see any grass. It's just leaves. So I end up finding it. I got to punch it out. I flub my way around the first hole, but I take a double. I don't know what it is. The first 6 holes, I played some of the worst golf I've ever played in my life. That's not to say I played great on the back, but like the ball striking was awful. there was just no confidence in doing anything. Like at least sometimes when you're striking the ball and you're like, all right, I can't. At least I'm making good contact. The fade is now a slice, and just let's work it, right? Couldn't do that. It was literally like Michael J. Fox trying to golf. It was a rough one out there.
How did you like to? I mean, I think that third hole. And I know you're talking your first 6 you struggled, but how sweet is that
third hole? So you asked me when we were talking, because we don't want to record the same holes and that kind of stuff. So I asked you what holes you recorded. We were talking a little bit back and forth, kind of lifting up the curtain here a little bit. But as we were talking, I was looking for a hole on the front 9 and on the back 9 that I liked, and that third hole is really, really cool. It's short. It's not long. You don't need driver, which is why I took a 3-wood and duffed it maybe 20 feet in front of me, only to take 3-wood again. And
you were laying up.
And then to go over the water. And again, how we talk about this. I love like the rock features and the wall features and that kind of stuff. And there are some really beautiful features to that. There's the water going in, so it has, again, like whether it was rocks or railroad ties or whatever it was to keep it up at different points throughout the course. It was beautiful. It really was. I thought, looking back on the round, I thought it was a miniature 18. Like they doubled 18. Kind of the same thing over the water there with the right. It was like a...
Yeah, -1's a par 5 with the water all along the right-hand side.
18's
this is a par, yeah.
A short par 4.
18's a par 5.
Yeah, no.
And this one's a little, but I get you're saying the optics of
they
the
look
rock
similar.
around the greens. Yeah. Every time I get to that golf course, the third hole is always something that stands out in my mind so vividly. But I do want to say this, because when you put out your score of over under 88, if you went sub 88 from the black tees, that's a hell of a round. And I think you should have prefaced that by saying, I'm going to tip this bad boy out, because, dude, that is a stretch.
So
a stretch.
I'll say a few things. First, I would have, had I made the decision to play the tips after I put that out. So I would have said play in the tips. But I put that out when I was in the parking lot, putting my shoes on and getting ready, that kind of thing. The second thing is I went based on like my average scores for the year. So that's why I picked that number. Like, it's kind of the average way when you look at my handicap. That's why I went there. So I guess I could break news here. I went over. I ended up shooting 93. But like I said, I don't know if it's the long drive into like I maybe warmed up for, I got out of my car and I teed off 10 minutes later. That includes getting the bag out of the car, putting the tees on. So it's got to be, obviously there's something to that. But it took me a little while to get in the rhythm. And then I will say this, there was also a bunch of shots that I took penalty drops for that I don't think were deserved. Pause. Let me finish. You know the time of day that I played, right? I'd say of the first 13 holes, 15 of them were into the sun. So there were that I hit, especially when I got to the back, there were 3 or 4 tee shots that I hit really well, felt I hit a good ball, felt it would have faded, but as soon as I hit it, I was blinded by the sun. Because now it's that late afternoon, like 3 o'clock-ish, and we know it's dark. So it's literally right in the sun, and I lost it. And you accompany that with the leaves, and I'm not saying the leaf rule was in play, because I was like, I hit that ball, it's not going to be in the fairway, it's just going to be off the rough. But I have no idea how far or anything like that. So I had to play a penalty drop. So I think had I been, playing with somebody else, who could have kept a little better eye on it than I could have. Like, I'm trying to keep my head down and then quickly pick it up, get blinded by the sun. I don't think I take those penalty strokes, but I also didn't feel right by not taking the penalty strokes and telling you how I played because I didn't find my ball. So there's a few balls out there that are lost, probably in great position, and someone behind me was like, how did someone not find this ball? Well, that's how. I looked directly into the sun. You're looking for this ball? And that's how, honestly. And not even like, it got to a point where I was frustrated, not with my golf game or my swing or anything like that. I was frustrated with nature because I was like, how are every one of these fucking holes into the sun? I don't understand it. Because I kept losing the ball every time. So I'm not making excuses. Again, I took the penalty drops. It's not like I made the excuse and took the strokes. But again, I took doubles on some holes that should have been bogeys or pars.
Are you an anti-sunglasses guy?
When I play golf, I am. Because I feel like it throws off my depth perception of where the ball is. So yeah, I don't do sunglasses. But I do the hat, and I
know. I'm no hat, no sunglass guy.
Yeah, I can't. And even then, with the hat, I still couldn't follow it. So I feel confident if you were there, or even if I was paired up with somebody, that I would have been able to find the ball, or at least track it, or have even an idea. But there's at least 3 holes where I just didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue where it went. And there's 2 others that I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm in here, but I can't look for 25 minutes.
That's a lot of strokes to take penalties on.
It is. I'm telling you, I didn't play great. I'm not trying to say it, but I think 88 was a really good number. Based on those penalty strokes. And again, maybe I lose. Again, if I'm saying 3 or 4, maybe some of them get lost. But I'm telling you, I'd find at least 1 or 2 of those if I'm not playing alone. I think I really do.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I don't wear sunglasses, but I'm not a hat guy either like you. I just like to showcase this beautiful face. So that's kind of why I just let it out there. But I get what you're saying.
I was actually wearing a mask out there, so to cover up my face.
Did you make any birdies?
No, I didn't. I didn't make any birdies. I had a...
What'd you think of the back of 9?
I had a birdie shot on... I had a legitimate birdie shot on that long... Yeah, like a birdie putt. But not like a 40-foot birdie putt. Like a legit... on the long par 5, the 600... the 620... Yeah.
It's a great hole.
Unbelievable hole.
Great hole.
And
kind of goes up the hill on the 3rd shot.
Yeah. And I'll spoiler alert it for some people. It is my Ryan's verse for this week. So tomorrow, check out how I did to it. But
that's a great hole.
I guess.
And then a par 3 that follows it, right?
The par 3 was awesome as well.
Hole.
I will say this, Mike, I did this. I forgot to tell you. I wanted to tell you on the podcast. I recorded every par 3's tee shot. Because, in case I made a hole in one. when you're not playing with somebody,
yeah, when you're riding solo, that's a tough thing. That's the last time you want to have a hole in one, maybe second to if you dump one in the drink and then make it on a retee. So
right.
Those are 2 times that you're like, where's the drop zone for the retee? Or just give me an X here. I'm going to the next hole.
The back was awesome. I was trying to think of what I liked better, the front or the back. And when I think about the course, I love the 18th hole. I thought the 18th hole is a spectacular golf hole. It's challenging. You can put a pin in that's in just a diabolical location, but it can also like it's got risk reward. It's got everything you want. I think it's a great golf hole. But when I think about the back 9 or the front 9, when I think about the holes that are like, oh, I really like this hole or that hole, it's the front. I like the front better. I don't know if that's the case for you, but I think a lot of them on the back seem to look the same or similar to me. But that's not for, that's not to say they were bad or anything like that. It's just I like the front nine better.
Yeah, I think I do, when you think about the back specifically, I do think 16, 17, 18 are three good finishing holes. You have a
Really
long
good,
par 4
yeah.
in 16. You got a short par 4 in 17. And then you got a kind of a risk-reward 18th hole where you can make a couple, you can hit 2 good shots and get there in 2. Like, those 3 holes to finish it up. Like, I don't know if I have, like, a favorite side, in a sense. I just think the golf course is a very, very well-maintained. It's got great people. It's always in very good shape. I mean, the greens are always rolling. I don't know how the greens were for you when you got out there, but I mean, it's just it's one of my favorites. It truly is.
I totally understand why. The one thing I will say is I want to go back there when it's a little more prime season. I think we're in November now. It's a little late. That's not to say that like the greens were rough or anything. I don't want anyone to be mad at me for that. The greens were terrific. But I know you like your greens, and I don't think you would have loved these and how they were. Even just like the leaves down and just like having so many acorns and stuff like that around. Like I would like to see it. I'd like to come down in the summertime and play it like mint condition and that sort of thing, because I can only grade it as I see it, and I know how much you love it, and I don't think how much you love it matches what I saw. And that's not to say it wasn't nice. It's a must play. Go play it. It's an hour and a half course. Again, I have no problem traveling there. It was really, really good. But how much you talk it up doesn't match what I think I got. So I'd like to see it again to kind of get on that.
That'll have to be a spring day when we go play Scotland Run and then go hit up Ballamor after that, so you can see both them in prime conditions, because I do think those two down here in South Jersey are the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
I know that, you'll hear us talk a little bit about Cape May National in a second, but I still think that those 2 courses in the, quote, South Jersey area, which forces me, in a sense, to get my rear end up in Shannock Valley, because I still, to this day, will get DMs and text messages saying, like, I agree with you, those 2 are very good, but you got to go see NV and check it out. So, again, that's on my to-do list.
Again,
in 2024.
We're only a year in, and of course we're looking for this stuff. So, I think we're coming down to the end of the season. I think we're done traveling. We might have some days where we get a super nice day that we're like, all right, let's go play. We're itching. But I think I know you and I both talked off camera or off air here that we're both kind of done for a little bit, barring some kind of unforeseen whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this is the tough time of the year. You got holiday season right around the corner. You got Thanksgiving. You got followed by Christmas and New Year's, and it's no offense, I am not bundling my rear end up to put on wool hat and freezing clothes, warm clothes to get out there to swing a golf club half swing.
Right.
So it's hard for me to even think about it. But if I was able to get to nicer, warmer weather,
which is my plan, I know. I'm trying to get away for a little bit over Christmas, but yeah, that would be the next time. Again, I'm in the same boat. I've played a lot of golf this summer, and I guess I'm just spoiled. I've played so much golf that I don't really have an interest in putting on a wool hat and a thick jacket when I'm like, you know what, my game's not in a place where like I want to keep going anyway. So I got a few things going against me, but yeah, for sure we have some more to attack in year 2. So. All right, so then another opportunity we had, again, we talk about nice days. Mike and I were able to get together, actually, and we went and played Cape May National down in, you guessed it.
Irma.
Down way, way south. Again, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that's south of the Mason-Dixon line. And we were able to get down there and play it. And really had quite a treat. A lot of people have talked about Cape May being a nice little treat down, way down south there, where there's not a huge, there's not a ton of selection. That's a nice course and a must play. So Mike and I made the trip down and got to play it. Let's chat about it. What do you think?
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts?
We're talking all the way down in Irma, New Jersey. I mean, we're talking, I think, single digits on the Parkway.
Oh, I got off at exit 4.
Yep. So we're talking deep down in South Jersey. The one thing, before I even get into the golf course specifically, it only cost us $65 with a cart to play at 12:50 was our tee time.
Yeah, I think that's got to go into consideration when you're looking at like courses you want to play. Was it the best public course that we've played this summer? No, it wasn't. And that's not a knock on it. We'll get to that in a second. But like when you look at how much it cost to play there, that's got to go to the equation of like the niceness of the course and the cost of the course. There's got to be a weight there for you. And 65 with a cart on a weekend afternoon, you're not beating that anywhere.
No, listen, and I thought that specifically was like, okay, wow, for all the good things we've heard about that spot, for that type of price, we've talked about it on numerous occasions. Like $100 is the new minimum, and to go down there and experience this place, which I thought was a really, really cool layout. I mean, we played the black tee markers there. I believe it was like 6,800 yards or 6,900 yards, par 71, 35 on the front, 36 on the back. And it had some really, really cool holes at this place. I mean, specifically, when I think about the front nine, that third hole from the black tees, it's about $180 over all water.
All water. Such a cool tee box. You just kind of drive past it, and it's just like a little tucked away there. And it's like, this was amazing.
It's like a little rectangle. It's a little rectangle with their two like mini rocks. I don't even know what their tee markers are defined as, but like just these little black rocks. I'm not gonna say little, but they're
They're just. I wonder if they're supposed to be like jetty rocks. I don't know if Cape May is known for their jetties or for having rocks, but to pick rocks seems like an odd. They were definitely rocks, and it seems like an odd choice to just randomly pick rocks. So I wonder if that's supposed to be like the jetty, like big jetty rocks. That would be my correlation.
Yeah, and that hole to me was really cool. And the one thing I thought about this public golf course specifically was the greens were sneaky fast.
It's really sneaky fast, yeah.
It was, you look at them, and again, this time of the year, a lot of the courses are recovering from being aerated, so there's still some little bumps in and around the greens for whatnot, but God, I was really taken aback, like, wow, okay, we need to play defense a little bit here. Because above the hole, and I think when you think about the ninth hole specifically, with that nice, beautiful house right in the backdrop there.
Yeah.
that was like Arcola, with forget about it. It got on the green and legitimately just didn't stop rolling down that hill.
My chip, like you said you were, I was going to tell you that it was fast. The second shot went over the green, so I chipped on, and I just got it rolling, and it rolled 35 feet. And it was basically a flop shot that I kind of hit up there, that it just kept going. It had this downhill and just kept rolling. And to the same point, your putt rolled 15 feet past. I mean, you had a 20-foot putt and just blew it by. That was really fast.
Appreciate the compliment. But yeah, listen.
I don't mean to knock you down.
No, it's all right.
I'm just proving the point to your point. You played well there. You putted fine there. That putt was not a good putt. And to your point, it was because it was super, super fast. You don't expect them to be that fast this time of year at a municipal golf course, at a public track.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that they kind of hold their hat on is like just the natural surroundings of the course itself. Like, I think, from reading their website at times, going into it, like they had a lot of environmentally sensitive private areas, whatever they're called.
They're banked off there. You can kind of see, yep.
Yeah, and if you hit a bull in there, it's like you're not going in there because of the way it's marked, and you're just kind of playing it as a lost ball more or less. But I thought it was a really, really fun track. The back nine was fun.
I thought there were two different
nines.
nines. I thought they had kind of a distinct, different feel. The front kind of felt like you were almost like 1 and 2. It's like tree lined. It's clearly very low land there. It's swampy on the right there, and then 3 we hit over the swamp. It kind of clears up a little bit for you're playing around the water, but yeah, I guess like 7, 8. Not as low, but it kind of felt more like marshy, swampy. Then you got to the back, and it didn't have that feel for as many of those holes. It felt more open.
Yeah, you know
like
why?
when you got to like
because I think a lot of that was where we ended up. Think about like how the front nine was on one side of the property.
Yeah.
And then we took that little road past the driving range to the other side of the property.
Yep.
And like to your point, there was definitely more wooder on the back nine.
Yeah, but it had a more open feel to it. It felt like it was it had not like a Manasquan where it was two distinctly different nines, but it had a different feel to me of like this is a different we're on a different side of the golf course, which was kind of nice to see. Yeah, kind of nice to feel.
Yeah, I mean I agree, and the one thing I do, and I know you and I have harped on this so many times, and it's not really the course's fault in that respect, but there are times we would love to switch the par threes up a little bit. Because you and I talked about this a lot, and being a par 71 golf course, they had 5 par threes out there. Every single one was 185 yards to 220, with the one hole 220 being dead into the wind, where we both hit 3 woods.
Yeah.
Like, that's a tough par 3. Now, I'm all for challenge.
Yep.
I am. But length doesn't always equal challenge.
But the length of this course, like, because it was 68, the length was on the par 3s. It wasn't like the par 4s were super daunting. There was even that one where you were like, oh, maybe we should have taken driver. Like, we were a lot closer. Like, could have drove the green, or at least had an attempt to. You know, the par 3s were a lot of the length of the course, even though there weren't a ton of them. But it's not like the rest of the course was super long, too. It was 6,800 with a lot of long par 3s.
Yeah, I guess that's a valid point. I'm looking at the scorecard right now, and it's 69.05 from the black tees, which we played. But the par 4s are nothing really to stretch out about. Maybe the second hole is 469 from the blacks, and the 11th hole was 445 from the blacks. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here.
And that second hole, Mike, that was like we had 7 irons in.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
that's not like I'm not pounding our chest. Like, look how far we hit it, but like that didn't feel like it was a 470 hole.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you there. It just seemed like those par 3s, and I hate to knock a place because I liked it. I had fun at this place. It was somewhere new. I know people have spoken highly about it, but I did think all the par 3s minus the third hole, which was all carry over water and kind of unique to its own way, that the other 4 par 3s were identical. Like, straight away, 205, nothing to it.
No, yeah, I would agree. Not like there's no change in it. And we talked about this going all the way back to Stanton Ridge. Like, you need to have variations in it. You need to, hit a 9 iron, hit a wedge, hit a 6 iron, hit a hybrid. You got to be able to vary those shots. But there was no variation here. They were all pretty much the same of just, that 200 to 220 yard shot, depending on what the wind was doing. You had to change the club.
I'll say this. If you ask me my favorite hole at the course in the front, it was clear as day, number 3. Like, legitimately wasn't close for me on the front. And then when I think about the back, it was the 17th hole, the par 3. And I know I just sat here and knocked the golf course in terms of the par 3s. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to do that. And then you're going to say, well, Mike, you're telling me now the 2 favorite holes of the place are 2 par 3s. Like, yeah. But, I mean, I don't know.
Right,
17 was cool.
17 was cool. It was all water on the left. It was like a big pond that kind of went through the fairway of what was that, 11
Still
or 12?
190 yards, though.
Still 100.
It was 190 yards.
And I'll tell you, we both, we found out that wind is apparently swirling there. But nice like railroad tie work that kind of held up the green to kind of keep it a little more elevated. It was just it was a pretty, aesthetically pretty hole. That doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have to knock it because we just knocked it. Like that was a great hole. That really was.
Yeah. I mean, I did. I mean, I guess when I step back and I think about it, 3 is still 199 par 3. I liked it. It was just all carryover water, kind of
nice.
Cool
like it had
optics.
Cool optics to the marsh that was there, like the swamp that had
tee box.
the super small tee box with what are those big leaves that come out of swamps called? Like those were kind of all over. It was aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and I guess
nice.
and I guess that's kind of what 17 was to that side of the 9 as well. And then 18 was a super good finishing hole.
Really was.
Water all down the left. You're kind of coming out of a little bit of a chute.
Yeah.
Don't you know it? Yeah. Coming out a little bit of a chute. You can't miss 2-tiered green where the pin was back right up on top of the slope, like 446 from those back tees. So like, I thought that was a really cool finishing hole there. And, it was cool for us as we were finishing up because the sun was coming down. Another perfect day. And listen, I know price matters to a lot of people in terms of playing golf, but for $65 on greens like that, God, I don't know if you're going to find a cheaper spot.
Yeah.
With a cart, let's keep that in mind, with a cart in any of the areas of the state of New Jersey.
I really don't. And, we talk about like how far you should go to travel there. I don't know if it's worth traveling from Sparta, New Jersey to go down there for a trip. I think there's places around you that you should go play. But this place is, if you're down the shore, like if you travel, you have a beach house, and even if you're not in Cape May, right? Maybe you're in Ocean City or maybe Sea Isle City. Like, yeah, maybe you're and you're tired of playing. I know you love it, but like I have a friend who goes down. He plays Ballamor every year because his family, the house that they rent is like 15 minutes from there. This is another great spot where, okay, you got to drive a little bit, but you're not going to disappoint. Another one that was like, again, we played Shoregate earlier this year. This is just another one that's like another great public track right down the parkway there in that very deep South New Jersey area.
Yeah, and I agree. I would agree 100% with you. I'm not telling someone to pack their bags and head south for this spot. But again, I think you're coming from Philly for the weekend and you're going to Margate, you're going to Summers Point, you're going to one of those areas that you mentioned, like for $65 with a golf cart.
Right.
Man,
so,
that
right.
is tough
Even
to beat.
Atlantic City. Atlantic City's exit 38. So you're talking it's 30 minutes away. A little more than that, 35 minutes away.
Nice practice facility too.
Yeah.
Nice little practice range, driving range, a good little putting green. So it has everything there if you're looking to practice a little bit as well. So like if you're looking to get there an hour beforehand, like you got a good spot right there.
Again, it's really close to being like a really exceptional place. It really is. And even like you park, there's no carts in the parking lot, so you got to park, you bring your bags in, you go through like that little portico there to kind of get there. It's a nice little touch with some ivy kind of growing on it. It was kind of cool. I didn't go into the pro shop, but that the building doesn't look like it's the greatest building in the world, but that's okay. You're there to play golf. The facilities there, the practice facilities were nice. And I liked the track. The track was really a good track.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why it may not be like the most well-maintained public spot is I think they kind of dive hard into like that natural, that environmentally protected areas, that bird sanctuary. Like those are the things that I saw so many places that they may just say, listen, we're going to be organic, we're going to be authentic, and it may not have all the edged out fairways and rough the way other spots have it, and we're going to be a little more natural, because I feel like that word natural was drilled everywhere around that golf course.
You know what it was? That's a good point, Mike. Maybe that's what they're going to lean into, and maybe they don't get enough play that it's going to tear up the golf course. So yeah, you're probably right. But I know I said that to you out there, and again, not a knock on the conditions, because the conditions were terrific. It just it was a really nice golf course.
Yeah, listen, it's a good spot. You're in South Jersey, you're 30 minutes away, and you're looking for a quality golf course at a phenomenal price. Go check it out. Cape May National, all the way down in Irma. That's the town.
Yeah, I know. It's on
ERMA.
It's on a part of the parkway that just becomes Route 9.
It's exit 4B on the parkway.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of us reference where you are on the parkway. Well, we went down to 4B.
Yeah, that's deep south. I felt like I was almost in watching the Alabama game.
Well, that's like me when we hike north.
Right.
Except I just end up in a mountain.
I'll tell you what, though. You get it at a time, I know the parkway can be miserable, but you get it on a time of day and year like we did.
Easy ride.
It really is. It's not a hard ride. It's parkway the whole way. It's not like you're dealing with lights. You're not dealing with traffic. And yeah, it's smooth sailing once you get to the parkway. So, again, miserable on a Friday in the summer. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't suggest a Friday afternoon round there unless you're already down there. But yeah, you can cook down the parkway there. It was smooth sailing for us, no doubt there. All right, so that's going to wrap us up here, talking about two really, really good courses. Ballamor and Cape May National is really a treat in here in early to mid-November to get out and get those opportunities. Thank you to our guys getting us out there, talking with us. Thank you to the people at the courses. I did play, I don't think I mentioned this when we were talking about it, Mike. I did get partnered up by the time I caught up to two guys on 16, 17, and 18 at Ballamor. I do want to give a shout out to Guy and Austin. Thanks for dealing with me. It was nice to chat with you. Hopefully you're listening and following along. But thank you to everyone out there. All right, guys, so before we send you to our interview with Nick Bova, 2023 PGA Player of the Year, newest member there, we want to remind you to like, subscribe, rate, review. That really helps us. Again, follow along on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. All that stuff really helps us, so make sure you're hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Really appreciate it. Here's our interview with Nick Bova. Enjoy.
All right, so today's guest, I don't think needs any introduction. We're beyond thrilled to get him back on after a huge summer. I don't know if you know, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard. He is the 2023 NJ PGA Player of the Year. Nick Bova. Nick, thank you so much for coming back on today's show.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ryan, for having me. This is our second time chatting. I enjoyed the first time. It was great. So, and I know we've been trying to get get this going. So it's nice to finally be able to sit down and chat with you guys again.
Yeah, for sure. And congrats on such a great year. It was awesome following you all year. You played such great golf, and it was awesome to see. So congrats on a great season.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was a great year. I played great all year. I mean, hell, you guys predicted I was going to win the state open. So I had a little extra pressure on me this year for that event. Almost pulled it out, but otherwise it was a great year.
Would you
Well,
rather
listen,
have that?
yeah, I was
Would
saying
you
now
rather
that you
have
got
that
into
pressure or not?
You know what?
I mean, it's real quick before you get going. It's so funny that you bring that up because I was like, obviously after what transpired that day, and throughout the whole thing, Ryan and I are like, dude, he's gonna fucking win, and we are gonna be spot on. I remember you saying Hackensack was your favorite spot in New Jersey. I was like, no matter what, said to Ryan, like, I don't know who you're picking, but I'm going first. I'm saying Bova. He's going to get it done. He's like, get the hell out of here. So was I. And then to watch you throughout the week and then to have it end like that, I'm sure it's not something that you want to think about. But I know from an audience perspective, like, I don't think anybody truly understands what it's like to play under pressure. Like, we all have those 3-footers in our money groups that we play with, and it gets picked up, and no one puts them out. Or, they have a tee shot, and it's like, all right, listen, I'm just going to hit another one for free, no big deal, take the mulligan.
Yeah.
What was it like that final round in that tournament specifically?
It was like we had talked about last time. Hackensack is, like, visually to my eye, it sets up so perfectly for me. And it's almost kind of ironic. So the vast majority, I mean, I think every single tee shot is a fade, which is like what I like to hit, except 18. 18 is the sharp dogleg left. So for the week, I parred 18 the first round, I made double in the second round, and I bogeyed it the third round. So it was a hole that just didn't set up to my eye. It'd be a lot different if it was on the fourth hole, but it was the 18th hole. I hit a lot of good shots. The pressure aspect of it, like I had an idea because I played in the final round, or I played in the final group in the final round, so I knew that I was playing with Troy Vanucci, and Troy didn't really have his best stuff that last day. I think he made 17 pars and a bogey. So, and then, getting into like the last 3 or 4 holes, I was kind of paying attention. I'm not a scoreboard watcher, so I didn't actually look at the scores until after I hit my tee shot on 18. But I knew that I was somewhere either leading or around the lead, with 4 or 5 holes to go, because, as soon as you see the social media people for the State Golf Association, when they're following you and they're taking video of you to post on Instagram and shit like that, like, that you're around the lead, if not already leading.
Right. If you weren't, nobody would be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and I was paying attention to the groups in front of me, because we had a couple. What was his name? Tom. I can't think of Tom's last name, but he's a kid he's an actual member at Hackensack.
Tom O'Neill.
Tom O'Neill, thank you. So Tom was in the group ahead of me. I didn't hear a bunch of like hooting and hollering from the group ahead. And then the group ahead of that, and then the group ahead of that, I could kind of sense. So I had like I didn't hit a great tee shot, great tee shot on 17, the par 3. I hit it in the right greenside bunker, short side myself. Hit a pretty good bunker shot to like 12 feet. And I made I made the 12-footer, and I gave the biggest fist pump. And I thought it was to maintain a 2 to 3 shot lead, because I had a 3-shot lead over Troy at that point. And a bunch of the other Hamilton Farm crew that had played in the event, they had come out and watched. So like Costanza was out there, and Pat Wilson, and a bunch of other guys from the farm kind of watching the last hole. And I made that putt on 17, and they were screaming, "Let's go, let's go!" So I kind of thought that I had a couple shot lead, and we get up to 18. I was so confident because even though it's a draw hole, in the second round, I absolutely, like, the only draw I hit all year, I absolutely murdered one in the second round, and I had 85 yards, and I kind of putted around from there, but I felt good on that tee shot. So I walk off the 17th green, beeline it to 18, grab the driver out, don't even think about it. And then I overcook one. It just clips a branch 150 yards off the tee. So then I look at my thing is I'm always going to look, if I'm not paying attention to the leaderboard, I will look one time, and it's after I hit my tee shot on 18. So I hit that tee shot, catches the tree. I'm like, all right, let's, I probably just have to play smart here. And we hopefully we have a couple shots. And I looked at my caddy, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to grab my phone to check." He said, "You just got to make par." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, Brent shot 65. I was like, "That motherfucker." So I'm like, so I actually saw, because Brent played with Costanza, and they were on 18T finishing their round when I was on 10. So he was essentially 9 holes ahead of me, So like I said, I didn't check until that 18th tee box, so I essentially played that entire back 9 tied for the lead and didn't even really realize it. And you always look back at it. It's like, you bogey 18, that sucks. But I think I only had one other bogey in the final round. Other than that one, I hit a lot of good shots. I made a lot of good putts. It's just, in terms of shots under pressure where I hit them as good as I could. I mean, tee shot on 8. I absolutely murdered it right down the middle. And then I hit a 3-wood on the green to 20 feet and 2-putt for birdie. 9, the wind was blowing hard left, and it's a little cut tee shot, and I hit it absolutely perfect. And it's the first time I really ever felt like I was swinging so freely, and I could swing it as hard as I wanted, and the ball would come off perfectly. So I birdied 8, I birdied 9, I birdied 10. It was just one of those weeks where kind of everything fell right. And, just at the end, it ended up not coming out the way I wanted. But at the end of the day, I mean, I still played great. It sucks that bogey came on the last hole.
Yeah. Do you take any solace in that, Nick? You played really well. You just said that you felt like you were swinging free and all that. And, of course, we all nitpick, right? Doesn't matter what level golfer you are. But in the competition of things, does it make you feel any better knowing, hey, I had a great week. I gave it my all. Of course, I can nitpick, but he went out and played like you got beat.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. So the clam bake, the previous tournament prior to the state open was the clam bake, and I had a 7-shot lead with 12 to go and played the last 12 holes like a fucking moron. And Brent ended up catching me and passing me and ended up beating me, right? So, that one really stung.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one, Brent shot 65 in the last round, but he also shot 66 in the second round. So the dude shot 13 under the last 2 rounds of the tournament. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's some golf.
Yeah, that's some golf. So, or no, I'm sorry, he shot 67, 65, so 12 under.
67. Yeah.
So, yeah, it stings, but there's some solace in knowing that I had a chance. And, everybody that asked me afterwards are like, it kind of sucks. You've had a chance to win 2 big events, didn't come through. I'm like, yeah, but I really looked at it like I was playing good. I was playing good enough. I was hitting it good enough. I was putting good enough that if I gave myself enough opportunities, I could win something, and ended up finishing off the fall finale. So,
this is the last question I have about that event, because I don't want to harp on the negative, because I think there's too much good. But I think it's a lot of stuff that I know, like Ryan said, like we all can also second guess ourselves in terms of we have a set, process of what we follow and what we do. Walking off 17 after you make that huge par putt, right? Like, I can't lie, I'm one of those guys that was sitting at home refreshing the damn screen constantly, waiting for the 4 to get posted, because I had my whole thing ready to go to blast it out. And I was texting people that I knew were there, trying to figure out, do you look back and say maybe I should have looked at the scoreboard to maybe slow my thinking down, my process down, even though my normal thing is to always wait to after the 18 tee shot? Or do you just chalk it up as like, listen, I hit a bad one and it is kind of what it is?
I think it's a little bit of both. I was aggressive from, say, that 17th green to the 18th tee because of what I had seen in front of me, or what I had kind of observed throughout the last 4 or 5 holes in front of me. Like, there wasn't a lot of big cheering. I didn't see guys fist pumping. I didn't see any of that stuff. So I figured, I kind of internally thought, okay, that putt, like I said before, was to maintain a 2 to 3 shot lead going into the last hole. So I just got up there and didn't think about it. And I just grabbed it and tried to make an aggressive swing, and just didn't really make a great swing in that situation. And that happens sometimes. But in terms of looking at the leaderboard, I did change my strategy a little bit at the fall finale. So I knew fall finale I was close to lead because Ethan, the social media guy for New Jersey PGA, started to show up on like 13. So he followed me on 13, 14, and 15. So, and I had missed, I missed like a 20-footer on 13. I missed I got up and down out of the bunker on 14. I missed maybe a 12-footer on 15 for birdie. So I knew I was around it. So I looked on 16T and saw that I was tied with Frank. And so 16 at Echo Lake is kind of a shortish dog leg left par 4. I hit 7 wood off the tee and absolutely obliterated this thing. And I had like 85 yards, and I hit a pretty poor wedge shot to probably like 40 feet. I mean, the pin was tucked left, and there's a bunker left, and you can't really, if you hit it left, you're not getting it up and down. So I was probably a little bit more conservative, and then just didn't really make a good swing. But then I made the 40-footer.
I was gonna say, I think that was the putt I saw on social media. That was a bomb.
Yeah. So then I made that 40-footer, which was awesome. And then on 17, I had probably 60 feet. So on 17, the pin was back right, and I was kind of between clubs. And in the morning, I hit a 9-iron. It was like 162 yards, I think. It plays a little downhill, and there was no wind. So, I mean, I was juiced up. So I just ripped the 9-iron in the morning, and I hit it to probably 10 feet. And in the afternoon, there was a little bit of breeze into us. I tried to hit the same club because I was probably a little bit more juiced up in the final round. But I caught it just a hair heavy. So it kind of landed on a slope, and then kind of peeled off the slope, and I had like 60 feet. And I almost made that one too. I lipped that one out. So, I was feeling pretty good with the putter coming in, and, I got lucky that Frank didn't make a birdie coming in. Well, he made one birdie on, I think he birdied 13. But, I got lucky that he didn't make one on, 14 through 18, and then was able to clip him in the playoffs. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, that obviously turns the page for me in terms of like talking about the Open, because I did want to ask you those questions, because I know people are asking me like, I kind of like what your thought process was throughout there, but then obviously as the season continues, winning the fall finale, I think is a huge feather in the cap, nonetheless taking down, Frank up there as well. So, and then I think the one icing on the cake for the whole thing was for the 2 times that Brent may have clipped you in those 2 events, being able to get out in front of him, not by many points nonetheless either, to win the New Jersey, Player of the Year. Like, how special of an accolade is something like that? Is that like a preseason goal for yours when you're looking at things? Because, I know like a lot of people, you care about your passion and you care about, being the best golfer you can be. So like when you see your name number 1 there, what's that mean?
It was my main objective. My main goal this year was to earn Player of the Year. In 2020, I finished third in Player of the Year. I'm sorry. In 2021, I finished third in Player of the Year. Last year, I finished second. So, I'm looking at kind of what my goals are going to be for the year, and I said, well, the natural progression is to be Player of the Year. So let's go get it. So so then Brent won the match play, then he won the clam bake, then he won the state open. And after he won the clam bake, I was basically like, you know what, I don't have a chance. I was pretty bummed after the clam bake, in all seriousness. I mean, I was frustrated because I thought I didn't have a chance, and because in 2022, Grant Sturgeon won the match play and the clam bake, and he was so far out in front of us points wise, nobody had a chance to catch him. So, it was nice at the events that Brent won, I finished second, so I was at least close enough. And I knew going into the fall finale, I kind of used that as motivation. I said, I ran the math on the points, and I said, I knew that I had to win. If I wanted to win Player of the Year, I had to win the fall finale. And then I needed a little help from Brent. And, based on the math, I figured he needed to finish like 8th place or worse for me to have a chance if I won. And so we get into the Frank is finishing up, and they were doing live points for Player of the Year. So they had divvied out the first place points to Frank and divvied out the second place points to me. So I was a couple hundred points behind Brent at that point. But then I realized, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, if we flip flop that and I get first place points and then Frank gets second place points, I did the math. I was like, I'm going to clip him by 42 points.
And you're doing that on the course?
No, I did this actually as I was taking a leak before we went out for the playoff. so I'm like, so I was running in just because I had to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, let me think about this. So I went through and I kind of did the math real quick, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, holy shit, I can actually still win Player of the Year if I go out and win this thing. So, not only are you trying to win a tournament, which is big and hard enough in its own right, knowing that I had to go out there and beat Frank in the playoffs to not only win the fall finale, but also clip Player of the Year by literally, the way you look at it, if Brent, so there was 4 guys that finished tied for 5th. If there was 2 guys, if Brent plus one other guy finished tied for 5th, I think he would have clipped me by like 10 points. So even if I won. So it was very, very close coming down to it. And really it kind of, the entire season came down to literally one putt, So, if Brent makes one more birdie in the last couple of holes, or I make one more bogey or whatever it is, it's a completely different story. But, the chips fell in my favor this year. And I'm sure they'll fall in somebody else's favor next year, but it's definitely the biggest accomplishment that I've had playing, earning that honor, because when you look back at the Players of the Year, you have Frank Esposito, you have Mike Burke, you have Ed Whitman, you have Brian Gaffney, you have Tyler Hall, you have Grant Sturgeon. You have all these guys that are, Brett Jones, all these guys that are New Jersey PGA Hall of Famers that are, say legends in our section, like to have my name on a list with them is pretty freaking cool. So
Yeah, that's like we said, you had such an incredible year, and that's I didn't realize how close it was at the end there. That really everything you do, like that's razor sharp thin. If you didn't par a hole or like any of the birdies, like that 40-foot putt, if you didn't make that putt, maybe you drop one more spot, lose like a few more points, and it's not like it's amazing how razor thin it is for an entire season.
So in the second round, I started on 10. I par 10, I birdie 11, I par 12, and then I hole out from 127 yards for eagle on 13. That was literally the difference.
That's crazy. That's so wild.
So now again, like even more, how everything plays out. In the second round on that 13th hole, I make a 2. Brent makes a 7.
Wow.
So
that's a big swing.
The entire tournament was won on that hole by that one shot. And it's, I hit a good shot, but it's pure luck that it goes in the hole, you get the right bounce. It didn't had the right amount of spin, all that other stuff. And it fell in, so it's like, it's crazy how, how it comes down to one shot and kind of how the golf gods chose me that day. And, it's just, it's surreal. I'm grateful because it was a big goal of mine and something that I really wanted, and I was able to make it happen. So,
Yeah, I think it's also though it's like a sign of resiliency. It's like, there's always speed bumps in people's way of where they want to go. And, listen, for you at those events, the Clam Bake and then the State Open, you could have given up. You could have said, F this, I'm done. This is not happening. But you kind of, it sounds like you looked in the mirror and said, like, put your big boy pants on and let's go figure out a way to get this done. And you did that. And I think that's admirable. And I think that's something that, just like anything in a round of golf, you could take it that simple and say, listen, I may have double bogeyed the first hole, but my round is not over. And that's kind of the way it looks like you approached, this goal of yours to find a way to accomplish it.
Yeah, it was very much, so I started working with a sports psychologist actually after the Clam Bake. Because it was the first.
I need one of them. No one is more
text Mike
fucked
that guy's
up.
number.
No one is more fucked up
guy,
than me. Nobody's more fucked up than me.
My guy is the man. But
if he wants a project, holy hell.
But so I reached out to him originally just to work with one of my juniors, and we got to talking, and I was like, listen, there actually just happened to be this scenario, that happened a couple of days ago, and we went through it and we started talking about it, and then he started to help me, and he kind of helped me realize that it's okay to go into that situation and be frustrated or to be angry or to be nervous or to be upset or to be happy or excited. Like, you have to lean into those feelings if you ever want to be able to get past them. You can't just sit there. His big thing was you can't just sit there and say, don't think about it, just hope for the best. Like, that shit doesn't work. Like, as human beings, that's not how our brain can process. So he's like, listen, man, he says, I know it sucks right now, but if you can lean into whatever those feelings are, whether it's good, bad, or anything in between, he's like, you're then going to start to understand how to deal with that in the moment when it happens, when you're actually playing, right? And that's kind of the way I took it in the State Open, and then in the Med Open, which I didn't play well in, but that's okay. The section championship especially, because going into that event, I finished tied for third in the section championship. Going into that event, I was the defending champion. in our biggest event. And, I just had this feeling like the bubble was going to burst and I wasn't going to play very well. I just had this feeling. And I'm talking to Mike before the event, and he's like, listen, you just got to go. Like, you have to be okay with feeling like it's not going to be good. And so I went into the week like, I felt good about where my game was, but I also felt like mentally like there was just something that was going to happen to where it just didn't happen. And I leaned into that stuff and became okay with it, and then figured out a way to hit the golf shots when I needed to, and I think that's the biggest thing that changed for me this year over other years is I just, I didn't let stuff bother me in the same way that it has in the past. I accepted everything, moved on, and whether it was acceptance of being frustrated or angry or upset or happy, excited, jubilation, whatever it was, right? It just, I figured out a way to be okay with it. And then, once I became okay with it, I was able to focus and hit good shots and see good results.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's spot on, and I think it's great advice just for the average person to hear things like that. Is like we all have emotions, we all have feelings, and if you try to suppress them, only bad things are going to come about from it. But like now,
yeah.
as yeah, and I think that's important because I see that a lot just in everyday high school kids. But I think when you look ahead now, obviously to me, like I look at all your results and I see, top 3 here, top 2 there, runner up this, winner of that. Like, obviously, what are your thoughts moving into 2024? And I know maybe it's way too early and you even haven't a thought to sit down about it, but coming off such a huge year, like anything, like expectations go up, the thought that your name should be constantly, at the top, if not number one. Like, what are your thoughts leading into 2024? Are there areas that you see that you need to really like kind of fix?
Yeah. So, I think from 100 to 125 yards, I'm mediocre at best. I'm just not, whether I'm too conservative with the lines that I pick or I just don't hit the shot, whatever it is, I'm just not as good there as I need to be. So that's going to be one of my main focuses this winter and then into next spring. But my main goals for next year, I mean, my number one goal is to repeat as player of the year. I've done it once now, so it'd be pretty cool to do it twice. Another goal is to win an event. Win one of our 4 major events. With that said, I've won the Clam Bake before, I've won the section championship, and I've now won the fall finale twice. So the first event of the year is the match play, which would be pretty cool to win that.
Win the Grand Slam.
Yeah. I'll be the number 1 seed because I was first in player of the year, so I'll be the number 1 seed next year. So the tournament's at Arcola, which I like Arcola. I think that place suits me well. So, hopefully, I can knock off one of those wins early on. And, looking at I look at the schedule of events, and, obviously it's hard to sit there and say, okay, I want to go out and I want to win this event, or I want to win that event. Like, that puts a lot of pressure on yourself. But where the events are next year are all at places where I've played well in the past, so not necessarily that I'm looking to, like, I'm going in like I'm going to win these things. It's just more like I'm going in and I'm confident that if I play the way I know I can, I should have a chance, and if I can do that, if I can play the way I know I can, and stay in the right frame of mind, like, I've got a pretty good chance. I mean, I could win none of them. I could win all 4 of them. If I get lucky and the breaks fall in my favor, I might win one or or more. If they don't, that's okay too. Just so long as I put in that effort in the right way, I think that's what's important.
We talked about that with Chris DeJean a couple weeks ago. That like Brooks Koepka kind of thinking, where you go into a tournament and you're like, I know I can play well here. I know you look at the field and like, okay, there might be a field of 64, but I know I can beat 45 of them. So now I'm only competing against these guys. And it kind of sounds like that's the thought process you have there. Like, I play well there. I know I like the course. I feel good about where my game is. If I can just do the things I need to do and catch a few breaks, which we all know you have to do, it sounds like that's the mindset. And that, to me, is a winning mindset. You're going into battle, let's say, against people who don't have that positive of a mindset. You've already beaten them.
Yeah, and I think my dad always told me, and he didn't come up with this obviously, but luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. So yeah. I carved out more time purposefully to practice this year than I had in years past, because I had this goal of, I had always had this goal of being a player of the year, but this year, after playing good last year and winning the section championship last year and kind of rolling into this year, I felt like I was starting to have the stuff that I needed to accomplish that. So, it's just staying, like I said, it's staying within myself, staying positive with what we're doing, and really accepting what you can control and what you can't.
Right.
And didn't I see correctly that Manasquan River's back on the schedule too?
For next year, not for next year.
Not for next year.
Not for any of our big ones. Not that I know of. The match play is Arcola. Clam Bake is back at Hollywood. Section championship is Echo Lake. Fall finale is at Spring Lake. And
maybe they might be hosting the Head Pro Championship.
I think that's what it is actually, yeah. Which yeah. I'm not able to play in that one.
But I forgot about that. I forgot.
And then the State Open next year is at Plainfield, and the Met Open is it's in Westchester somewhere, Weber. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a good. I've never played Weburn, but the other sites, I've played well at. They set up well for me, so I'm excited going into next year, just with the way that I played this year, with what I feel like I can do in terms of preparation, and and then the golf courses. I think there's they say there's horses for courses, right? So I've always played well at Echo Lake. I've always played well at Spring Lake. I've played well at Hollywood, so, and all those golf courses kind of set up to my eyes. So, hopefully I'm not jinxing myself right now, but
good things happen when you think good things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, it's my I actually prepared for stuff this year better than I had before. And I'm going to even adjust that a little bit next year to give myself an opportunity to do some more stuff. So, and to try to keep my game a little bit more sharp, and hopefully it leads to good results again.
So that's what I was going to ask. Like, what is now with all this success, you kind of tailored this year to practice more, feeling good about where your game is, looking to go to the next step, and we just talked about all that. What does this winter look like for you, and how do you continue to grow your game, yourself, all that kind of stuff going into next year, and that kind of preparation that you have to have?
So it's a good question. So
hopefully taking some time off. Hopefully enjoying some time right now.
So I'm kind of in the.
You got a Disney trip coming up yet?
No, that was last year. So I'm kind of at the tail end of my my off time. So I'm going to start to try to ramp it back up again and start hitting some balls, doing some stuff again here soon. But with those Player of the Year goals and winning an event, another goal is to finish top 20 in the National Club Pro and get into the PGA Championship. So this winter, I'm going to change kind of my preparation. I'm going to go down to Florida for a week in December and play 2 events. I'm going to play a pro member in January at Naples National, which is a really tough venue. I'm going to go down and play in the senior junior, I think with Brian Gaffney. So that'll be fun. That's a nice event there to kind of get the juices flowing again. Then I'll go down for
He's one of our guys.
Stroke. He is, yeah.
I don't know what I did, but we played 9 holes, and I had 9 putts in front of him. It's best I've ever putted.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, that guy can putt the lights out of him. He can get up and down from anywhere.
It's incredible.
Absurd. So, and then I'm going to go down for the stroke play. So, and then we have the Spring Pro kind of the week before. Actually, this year it's 2 weeks before we leave for the Club Pro. So, and then I might, if my girlfriend will let me get out of here, I might try to sneak down to Texas, to Frisco, to play a couple practice rounds at the golf courses that we're going to play for the event. So I'm putting more of an effort to go spend time, working on this stuff, because in the past I've worked on it pretty hard over the winter time, to make whatever changes I wanted, but I never took the time to go play and all this stuff to try to make sure the rest of the game stays sharp. So that's where I'm kind of focusing the winter stuff. And then, hopefully that translates to a good spring and then some nice early success and getting into some big events.
I like that. I like that thinking. You put in all that work this summer to make the changes. Like you said, you practiced a lot and now kind of keep it rolling. Like, let's play in some stuff. Let's get more, not that you need more tournament time, but let's keep it rolling. Let's keep playing and I like what we got. Let's keep going with it.
Yeah. And, for me, I always kind of, I try to find a nice balance when I'm prepping for events between playing and actually practicing. So, in our golf season, like we have one big event, the National Club Pros in April. So we have one big event in April, 2 in May, none in June, 1 in July, 1 in August, 1 in September, 1 in October. So if I can look at my winter and say, okay, I'm going to play in 2 events in December, 1 in January, 1 in February, and 1 in March, that leads me into April. So I'm essentially keeping the same, like I'm playing one event every month. So, I'll go down to Florida a couple days before the event start. I'll practice. I'll get acclimated with the turf down there and the, putting on those greens and that type of stuff. So, when I get down there, I'm not going to hit a shit ton of balls. I'll do a lot of chipping, a lot of pitching, a lot of putting, a lot of bunker stuff just to kind of regain the feel. And then, hopefully we can go from there. But, that was a big difference in kind of how I prepped this year. I did a lot more putting stuff. I did a lot more short game stuff. I putted better this year than I probably ever have. So I'll continue to work on that stuff with my putting guy and, see if we can't keep things rolling in the positive direction.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But I mean, you have the perfect, and to speak a little bit about Hamilton Farm too, I mean, you have the perfect facility there. And I know that when we talked to you, last winter about, things that were ahead, when I got to go out there and play that place in May, I couldn't help but to rant and rave about obviously all you guys that were there between you and Drew that were just like open and accommodating to anything that we needed. But like, the range was like, seeing you there, that range was like stupid nice.
Yeah.
The whole clubhouse looks like a mansion, looks like a castle out there.
Yeah.
And then the golf course itself is so damn pure. I mean, like, you have everything you need. If you got a few good winter days to get out there and like legitimately grind, like you've got an ideal spot there.
Yeah, and the secret the secret is the fact that we have the par three. I'll the Highlands course, the big course, is so busy now just because golf is so crazy right now that it's hard to sneak out there and find an open spot to play 2 or 3 holes or 4 holes at on a day. So I'll go over and I'll if I have a little break or I've scheduled some practice time, I'll hit some balls to warm up on the range. I'll do some simulation, hitting some tee shots. So I'll hit some drivers, but then I just go over to the par three and, I'll hit the tee shot, wherever the tee shot goes, I'll put that in. But then, to keep the score that I made on that hole, I'm going to go choose a spot and I got to get one up and down, so like if I make a three, if I make a three on the hole, I'm going to toss a ball off the green. I got to hit the chip, make the putt. And then that means I retain the three. If I don't get it up and down, then I make a 4. If I make a 2, I do the same thing. It's a 3. If I make a 4, it's the same thing. It goes to a 5. So, it's a way to kind of add some pressure into your practice and get you really dialing in those short shots, those chips and pitches. And then I'm throwing some of the shots, some of the chips are easy, some of them are hard, some are kind of medium in terms of difficulty. So there's a little bit of everything. So hopefully you're hitting some chips really close to tap in range, but you're also working on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 footers as well and you're kind of working on grinding, and you're staying in that mindset of you're in that competitive mode because you're pushing yourself and you want to beat whatever you can internally beat. So that's big.
And having that pressure on you too, like not just being able to put chips together and like work on your chipping, but now, like you said, you got a 4, 5, 6 footer that means something. Like now there's a little bit of added pressure, and we can never put tournament pressure on because only tournaments do that. But any kind of added pressure you can add to make it a little bit harder, and you're doing that for sure.
Yeah, listen, anytime I tell all my students this, and the good ones actually do it, but your practice is meant to make you uncomfortable. Like practice in every other sport is meant to, at least from what I understand, is meant to like help you have a confidence in what it is that you're doing, right? Well, golf practice doesn't work that way, right? Because you can build confidence in basketball shooting wide open threes all the time, like Steph Curry does, and making them and free throws and all that other stuff. But in golf, you can't just sit there on the range and hit 7-iron after 7-iron after 7-iron after 7-iron, because that's not how you play the game. You're not hitting 5 7-irons in a row when you're on the golf course, hopefully. Right? Hopefully you're not hitting 4 out of bounds or 4 in the water or some shit like that. So taking it out to the par 3 course and doing stuff like that, it stresses you out. Like a good golf practice should stress you the hell out. Like you should be mentally, and the thing with that is it doesn't have to be a 2-hour session. Like you can stress yourself out for 30 minutes and, I'll go play 3 holes on the par 3 and I'll kind of pick the ones that I want to play on that particular day, kind of given how I feel about my game, so I'll pick 3 holes and I'll go, I'll spend 30 to 40 minutes. Like, cause if I have time during the day, like an opening, it's only 45 minutes because I do 45-minute sessions. So if somebody doesn't schedule a lesson, that's all I've got. So I have essentially time to go do 3 holes. So, I'm doing that. I'm trying to stress myself as much as I can, even to the extent, like if I've got, let's say I'm going to play the 8th hole on the par 3, which is 100 and 70-yard par 3, that's a pretty stock 8-iron for me. I'll hit a 6-iron. I'm trying to stress it by hitting a club that I would not normally hit, and then figuring out a way to make the lowest score possible. So that just it helps me be better when it actually matters, because I'm not just hitting the stock shot over and over and over, because how many times are you hitting a stock shot? It's not often.
Well, there's no doubt. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I loved the up and down thing. That's something I'm going to take into my practice. But you're on a different level with I'm so good at hitting my 8-iron 170 yards that I'm going to take a different club. That's a foreign concept to me that I'm not going to.
So you'd be surprised though, because players of all skill levels can benefit from that. I'll have my higher handicap players do that same thing. So if they're on a par 3 and it's a 7-iron, I'm going to have them hit a 5-iron, right? Because one, it helps them control speed. It helps them, impact is typically better. They're more solid. They see the golf ball do what they want a little bit more, because they're not swinging it so hard and so fast. They're learning to control the golf ball more, so I think it's more that than anything else. Learning how to control the golf ball at your skill level, and definition of control is different based on that skill level. Mm-hmm. But everybody has to be able to do it. If you can't hit a 3/4 7-iron because you're into the wind and you're just going to hoist it up there every time, you got no business being out there. So working on it, I think it helps all skill levels to work on it that way. It gets harder the worse the skill level, because you might not be successful the first time or the second time or the third time. So then, as humans, right, we don't want to do something that doesn't allow us to be successful. But it goes back to the irony is that when you're practicing golf, and if you actually want to get better, that's how you have to do it.
You're going to be unsuccessful more often. Yeah.
Exactly. Because think about it in golf. I mean, you're unsuccessful. I mean, shit. Rory McIlroy is going to go down as one of the best golfers in the history of the game, and his winning percentage is going to be probably less than 10% for his career. He's failing 90% of the time. So if you think about it that way, it's if you can practice and learn, and if you can practice in a manner that allows you to learn the acceptance of failure, that's it's going to make your mental, your mindset a lot better, right? You're not going to stress out so much. And then 2, I think it's going to allow you to problem solve better the next time you're out there in that situation, because you're stressing yourself out, and that's what it is. I mean, golf is stressful as much as it's enjoyable. It's also stressful as hell.
That's a great point. Yeah, maybe you know what? I'm going to take both of them. I lied. I'm going to bring both of those. The up and down thing, I absolutely love.
I wasn't trying to shame you into doing both. But.
No, but you know what? It's a good point.
He needs to do both.
It's a good point. Being able to hit, if you're rather than like you said, rather than hoist a 9-iron into the air, into the wind, hit a 3/4 7-iron, and that's. You get the same distance. You work on distance control. That's a shot that you might not always hit it, but that's a shot that if you want to be a better golfer, put it in your bag. Get it in your bag.
You're learning to play the game.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. That's where I think that's the reason why most people can't take it from the range to the golf course, is because you can't learn to play the game on the driving range.
Mike talks about this all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you can only learn the game by spending time on the golf course. So that's one of the things, just, professionally, with my coaching and teaching and coaching next year, is I'm going to try to take more people on the golf course. Everybody comes into me like I'm the technician, and they want to do technique and all this other stuff. I'm like, I'm at the point now where it's like, that's great. We can do that, but it's not going to make you better. Like, you might hit 1 7-iron better in the course of a round, but if you can't play and manage it from there, then what the hell does it matter? It doesn't. Like, you got to figure out a way to get it in the hole as fast as possible. And that's what golf is.
And even if you know all of your clubs, if you have a little more variety, when something's not working, right? Like I know I've when I've been playing good golf, I know that if my fade is or cut or is more of a power fade, then like, okay, I need to stop. Like, I'm over swinging, or I got to do something, and now I'm just going to hit just I'm going to club up and just hit 3/4, and that's a good way to learn. Good thing to put in practice.
And it starts to give you go-to shots.
Yeah.
Because every day is not the same. So every day in golf is not the same. So you feel different because of all the external factors. Maybe you didn't sleep great the night before. Maybe you had too much to drink the night before. Maybe, your wife is driving you crazy. Maybe your kids are driving you crazy. Like, there's all these outside factors that are going to make it difficult for you to play the same golf one day to the next. So if you have done that practice and then you go out and you're like, okay, well, I'm hitting it like shit today, you can figure that out on the range, I know that the range doesn't necessarily directly correlate to what you're going to do on the golf course, but you can have your go-to shot, so to speak, that if you do enough of this practice, you'll figure out over time, like, I'm really good at the 3/4, whatever, if it's a 3/4 shot in general, then like when things start to go haywire, you can start to implement that as your go-to shot, and then you can find a way to be successful even though you're not really feeling like you're swinging it good or hitting it that good.
I'm in that right now. I have not played well my last few rounds, as Mike can attest. I got to find a shot and a little go-to shot.
Yeah. Just try to curve it the same way every time. If you break it down even more, if you just try to curve it the same way every time, you'll start to find consistency.
One-way miss.
Whether it's a big curve shot or a little curve shot, that's gonna be different based on the day. But I'm always trying to hit cuts. So the good days it cuts a little bit, bad days it cuts a lot, but it's cutting every time. So it's,
you got that right. Right, you got that.
I'm taking notes over here.
Yeah, should be on chapter 3 right now. But Nick, I think a lot of that is great advice. And listen, I'm sure Ryan and I could sit here and just keep picking your brain for hours upon hours. But I do want to commend you for an unbelievable season. I think the resiliency you showed throughout the middle of your year to get to where you were to wrap this up, and to be Player of the Year is a huge accomplishment. So. Listen, I just want to thank you for coming on here again and giving us a few minutes of your time.
Listen, I think what you guys are doing is great. You're exposing New Jersey golf, and we're in a great state. We have a lot of great golf. We have a lot of great golfers, and you guys are the first guys that have really kind of put that at the forefront, in my opinion. To like have an avenue for people to get to know us, and get to know you guys and what it is that you're doing. So it's, I commend you guys for what you're doing. I think it's awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. And, hopefully we can do this again.
Love that.
Works for us.
Yeah, for sure.
For us.
Thanks so much, Nick. Congrats again.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Yep. Thank you. See ya, pal.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Name a better feeling than buying something you can take and wear anywhere. Money spent on quality products is money well spent. Even more so when you can rock that purchase just about anywhere. Why would you spend a fortune on clothes you'll only wear to the course when you could buy that gear that's just as nice at home, at a holiday party, or work event, yet comfy enough it doubles as loungewear? Obviously, we'd all love to be playing 36 holes every weekend of the year, but just because you have to sneak in a quick 9 before work doesn't mean you need to change your clothes. And as winter closes in, Check out their new festive hoodies and beanies to fight off the chill at www.swannies.co and use code THEDROP25 for 25% off. Swannies is your go-to from work to golf and everything in between.